This is definitely something where people need to roll up their sleeves, get their pens and pencils out, and work along with us as we go. So how does a target market grid help us? Maybe, what is it? How does that work? Let's start there.
Target market grid is a relatively simple but very practical tool for getting this conversation started. It's a great conversation starter. It's not the end of the whole road, but it's a really great way to begin to start to figure out who you really either do sell to or maybe more importantly should sell to, if there's actually a little bit of, if there is a shift, because maybe you haven't actually been as narrow or as focused on your customer as you should be. All it is a grid that cross-references your customer types, versus your product or your service types. And then you compare those two things and look at a bunch of data and start to trying to get some ideas. So let's say, for example, you owned an RV business. You sold recreational vehicles. And so some of your customer types might be retired couples that are buying something. Could be young families that want to go camping, that kind of thing. And then you've got different products that might include things like big motorhomes or tent trailers, on the other end of the spectrum, and everything in between, fifth wheels and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And what you do is you take those things, you put them on this grid, and you compare. You say, okay, so let's take a look at what our sales look like, what our margins look like, and so forth, with retired couples and motorhomes. And now let's compare retired couples and, for example, tent trailers, and so forth with younger families and any other categories of customers you sell to and products you sell to. And let's look at your volume of sales, let's look at your total sales, let's look at your margins, let's look at how often they become repeat customers and maybe the referrals you get. And you hone in on these things and you start to pull some data. And it's quite interesting sometimes what it does. In fact, we've had companies that have made small, sometimes subtle, or sometimes even bigger shifts in understanding what their target market or who their target market really is or should be by taking a look at that information, because you may realize that there's a segment that's actually quite profitable, that's a very large market segment that for you right now has been almost a secondary market, but really is a place you should be focusing on.